Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. I have a special joint podcast for you under the banner of Serpent Sermons. When we do these joint podcasts, we usually do it under that banner. Waylon is familiar with that. We did a bunch of these last year, but we have an oh so special guest with us tonight. We have motherfucking JS Garett. JS, how you feeling tonight, brother?
Hey, I'm doing great, man. Thanks for inviting me on. It's an honor to be here on this podcast with you, man. I'm looking forward to it.
Fuck yeah. And my surprise co-host, Waylon Straczynski from the Black Tower. What's up, Waylon? How you feeling tonight?
Pretty good, man. Hail and welcome from the Black Tower.
Awesome. So yeah, this will be going out on Legion of Lilith and the Black Tower. Before we get started, I just want to state a little disclaimer. J.S. Garett, Waylon Straczynski, or myself cannot be held responsible for any information that is misinterpreted on the part of the audience. It is your responsibility as consumers to know what you are watching. So without further ado, the way I'm going to direct these questions, since I got both of y'all on here, I'm going to direct the first at JS, and then Waylon, you can answer after our honored guest. All right. So JS, can you describe the moment when you knew this stuff was for real? That the devils were real, that this magic is real, that the gods are real. The moment when it was over, you're like, this is real. This is what I'm going to do. Can you describe that moment?
Hell yeah, dude. Hell yeah. So this takes me back to being 10 years old. All right. So when I was 10 years old, my mother was assaulted. All right. She was not raped. She was just brutally assaulted by a family member. All right. Physically assaulted. And so, as a 10-year-old little boy, like I wanted to get revenge for my mother. The only problem was I was 10 years old. What am I going to do? I can't even go out. I can't even drive. I can't even go out and find this person. And even if I did, it's a grown ass man. What am I going to do as a little scrawny 10-year-old boy? And I'm like, you know what? I'll make a voodoo doll with that sumbitch, So I did, man. I melted down some candles in a pot on my oven, and I molded a little voodoo doll. I carved his name into it, and I actually went to his mother's house and found one of his old hairbrushes to get some DNA, and I molded that into the wax too. All right, and so then a friend of mine came over to spend the night, another 10-year-old kid. And me and my younger brother, he would have been 8 at the time, and we sat in a triangular fashion, and we took turns stabbing and destroying this doll. All right, with the intention of taking this person out, taking him out of this world. And so about a week went by and nothing happened. I didn't hear anything. And then a week later, exactly 2 weeks to the day from the night that we performed this spell, this man was cutting down trees with a chainsaw, and accidentally somehow a tree fell on this guy. He cut a tree down and the tree fell on him, and it broke like all the bones in the left half of his body, and he barely survived, and it messed him up for life. And I was like, you know what? Damn it, it was supposed to kill him. It wasn't supposed to wound him. It was supposed to kill him. So I was like really butthurt about it. But at that point, I realized that that had to be, that wasn't just a coincidence, So I'm like, okay, there's really something real to this here. And, so that sparked my interest in magic and sorcery. And it's something that I had studied frequently throughout my childhood and in my early years. And, each time I would get like really, really frustrated with trying to learn this stuff. And I'd end up throwing my hands up and saying, screw this, walk away from it. But, I'll say the moment that it really was driven home, relieved any doubts for me whatsoever, was when I first made contact with Belial or Belial. And it was a 3-day evocation. It took me 3 days to summon him. But that was the first time I'd ever seen a physical manifestation of an entity. It was the first time that an entity had ever spoken to me, and or actually physically touched me. And nothing will let you know just how real these beings are until they reach out and grab a hold of you. And you're like, holy crap, this is not in my head. This is not a state of mind or a state of trance or a state of being. These things are very real, and they can physically reach out and grab you. And, that was going on 10 years ago now. So at that point, I dove in head first into my practice. I dedicated my entire life to my practice, and I'm still going strong and better than ever.
So I want to interject a little bit there. There's a lot to unpack with what you just said. So no one can explain this phenomena that we call existence, but certain theosophists have surmised that the deities that we represent on this earth give a portion of their essence, give a portion of their energetic makeup, a part of their body to form us. They're literal priests and agents on this world. So Belial was the star that was next to you when you were being formed and fashioned. Belial, as far as I'm concerned, you're a priest of Belial and a priest of the Watchers. Now, what's funny about that gentleman that the tree fell on, trees are very sacred to King Belial. They are considered his flesh, and old oak trees are considered a good way to commune with King Belial. But it's not an accident that a tree fell on him, and it's not an accident that intuitively you gathered all of these essential tools to craft this totem to make all this situation unfold. So that's fucking insane. Waylon, what do you have to say to that heavy ass story?
I think that's pretty badass. I use what is known as the blood of trees in all my rites. I mean, I don't give a damn if you're talking about work. Well, actually, you can't. I can't really say that about the celestial beings. But when you're talking about like the infernal or the fallen, I love implementing the blood of trees, which is like resins. And if you can, and it's got to be like the genuine resin. It can't be like this manufactured crap because there's a big energetic difference when you're working with them. But I found I found that through like dreamscaping and certain other clepothic workings that the trees that are like in the Garden of Nod, the seven that are there, they have equivalents here upon the physical plane. And there's a representation because you know that whole as above, so below. You can kind of think of it this way: the way we as sorcerers do is that we raise it from the ground up. Because imagine that there's nothing. We already know our connection to the divinity and how there is no piece of us that is not of the gods. So we already walk with this, and we don't question it or think about it. We just walk because we know who we are. But when you start adding certain elements, it goes beyond believing and it comes into the realm of knowing, and that's where the true power lies. And I think things like the story he's talking about, like when he was a child, uh, that's fucking phenomenal. I've heard that story before, and I thought that was badass because you can't tell me of a 10-year-old in this day and age that has not necessarily imagination, because it does take imagination, but beyond imagination, it takes a connection with something that is not normal. And by normal, I mean, that's taught or caught up in the social circles that we're bound in, whether it's through religions or politics or whatever. You don't get that. So for him to do that, that's pretty badass. That already says that there is an intelligence guiding him, directing him. And then the ability to do it, you can also kind of look at it in a way as, when you're talking about people like certain practitioners or certain people in general, they have a natural aura about them, a natural state of being and presence. And those people really ought to be fucked with. They really should, because the reason you can sense them or feel them is because the powers they represent on this earth, they're for real and they'll fuck you up. I mean, they just will, because they defend what is theirs. Because even though, like, I call it sorcery, my very first calling was that to be a high priest, and that was of the Sumerian traditions and so forth and so on. But I'm not bound in just a tradition. You know what I'm saying? It's all these beings because they're masked. they share similarities and qualities, despite the fact they have different names and different faces that they present themselves as. So, like for example, you take King Belial, and then you think of his celestial or spiritual spark, Iliel. That's dude, that's badass. That means that you're talking about something that's non-divided. And as a child, and I'm not trying to speak in loops, but as a child, it seems like he was very secure in knowing who he was, and he's protecting mama. Dude, you don't fuck with mama. I mean, you just fucking don't normally, you know. And I've always thought that was badass, because I mean that speaks a lot towards not just, quit hitting mom, and you start trying to defend, against like a evil father or stepfather or something like that, but being abused and beaten. He took a step further. He's like, I'm gonna get your ass, and ran with it, because that's what it seems like. And I like that. I can't follow him story for story like that, which I wouldn't try, because it doesn't run from a realm of ego. I've got shit tons of stories from the time I was 7 to something that I didn't know until I was like 23. That's called the Wild Hunt. I had no idea what these big black dogs with like red glowing eyes and who this big tall 9 foot tall chick with a fucking spear is. But I know one thing: I was going in the other direction. And I was 7, and I was like, fuck this, and I had to leave it. I mean, it was cold as shit. It was I want to say it was mid-October, earlier mid-October. It was pretty cold. And I saw that, and I'd never put 2 and 2 together. I just saw dogs that you could see through, but you could still see them. And this big, tall, just gigantic woman with a spear and a bow over her shoulder. And I'm just like, I'm not prepared for this shit. And I ran the other way towards, dreaming about like 3 days before my adopted mother died of cancer. I dreamt her death, and their spirits had come to take her, and she was telling me that it would be okay, but that I couldn't follow, and 3 days later she's dead. I think we each have our own connection towards the powers that we represent and that walk with us and that guide us. I'm not the kind-hearted kid I was. I know that. I'm nowhere near as, forgiving or gentle. I do temper my heart with reason. I have a big heart, but I temper it with reason these days. And that's just because in this world you're not allowed to be a light, because they'll devour the fuck out of you.
Mm-hmm. So in the words of King Belial, let the children come to me. Their mother loves me, so shall they. So, JS, how did you come into contact and build a working relationship with, this is a 3-part question, with Belial, Shemyaza, and Astarte?
Okay. Yeah, okay. So it'll take me a minute to answer that, because it's like 3 different stories there. All right. So I made actually Shemyaza is the very first entity that reached out to make contact with me in my adult life. And this was several years ago, before I moved back to Georgia from Texas. And I brought my family here, and I went back to Texas to sell our house and pack up everything and move it here. And so it was a Saturday night, and I lay down to go to sleep, and it was a few minutes after I laid down on my pillow. It was like I fell through the bed. It was like something reached up and grabbed me and like pulled me through the bed. And I had this falling sensation, which was really strange. It scared the crap out of me. It was like I don't know if I was asleep or if this happened while I was awake. It was very, very strange. All right, and so I'm falling for a minute, and then I land in this river. All right, and so it's like the most lucid, vivid dream that you can imagine, like so real that I won't even call it a dream. It was some type of experience. And so I'm looking around, and there's like 30 other people in this river, and it's like chest deep water, and they're all looking around and they're just as confused as I am. Like, what the hell's going on? And then you hear this most blood curdling roar that you have ever heard. And I look downstream and there is this monster barreling straight for us. It had long arms and long claws. And I don't know if it was like tentacles or if it was like dreadlocks or what, but it looked like a giant freaking werewolf crossed with Predator from the Arnold Schwarzenegger movie Predator. And so this thing is like barreling straight toward us. And all these people in the river, they like start going nuts. They're like climbing over top of each other. They're like trying to run, but they're not getting anywhere because we're in chest deep water, And I'm like, well, I ain't gonna outrun that thing, so I'm just gonna kind of like go under the water here and let him run past me and eat these other people, and then I can get away. All right, and so I take a deep breath and I go under the water, and then like I could literally see like my arms grow out and transform into these long arms with these claws. And like I see these people's legs moving around under the water, and so I start like slashing at them, and there's like blood filling the water. And I was like, what the fuck? So I stand up and I'm like a normal person again. And I'm like, okay, that was weird. Now I've forgotten all about this big ass monster coming at me. Now I'm trying to figure out what's going on. So I go back under the water and I transform into this like beast again, the same type of beast that's chasing us. And I stand up again. I'm normal person again, and I go back under the water. Same thing happens again. So I stand up for the third time, and this thing is like right on top of me. And he doesn't rip me to shreds or eat me. He wraps his arms around me and dives down into the water. Okay. And so then I literally sink into the monster. Like I literally sunk into his chest and then transformed, like became the monster. And then when I stood up for that final time, I remained the monster. All right. This giant beast that was chasing us. And then continued to eat and devour the other fish in the river. All right. And so at this point I wake up. All right. I wake up and I sit up in bed, and I had the most god awful pain I've ever felt, like right here in between my eyes. It felt like someone had hammered a railroad spike in between my eyes. And when I sit up, my nose started bleeding. Like I had a full-on nosebleed gushing down my face and dripping around everywhere. And I had like the worst pain, like up in my sinuses and in my head. And I was like, what in the hell just happened? And so I'm like, did I like cram something up my nose while I was sleeping? Like what the hell's going on? And whenever I first sat up and my nose started dripping blood, like I heard like an audible whisper say the name Shemyaza. All right. And at that point, I'd never heard of Shemyaza. I didn't know that was a real entity, a real being in history or anything like that. And so that was something that was like the beginning. That was the beginning of the craziness that ensued directly after that. And I had two more experiences the following Saturdays, the next two following Saturdays after that. One with what I perceived to be Satan, and the other with what I perceived to be Azazel. All right, and so I packed my house up and I moved back to Georgia. And a week after I get home, me and my family get attacked by these like 5 meth heads at a swimming pool, like a private swimming pool. And I had to use deadly force in order to rescue my family from that attack. After which I was arrested and charged with 4 counts of aggravated assault. So that is what started my life falling apart. Those charges drug out for years, and I lost everything. Lost 2 houses, lost 2 vehicles, lost my job, lost my life savings, all of that stuff. I was brought down to absolutely nothing. All right. And so then I'm in a state of desperation. My lawyer was about to drop me because I could no longer afford to pay him because of the length of time that the case had drug out. And so then I started desperately searching in the area of the one thing that I knew could save my ass, and that was black magic. So I researched as much as I possibly could, and then I came across Belial or Belial, and it said that this entity was the ideal being to help someone with legal matters. All right, and so then I watched one of E.A. Quetting's videos where he gave the incantation to initiate spiritual pacts, Alash Tadalash Talashtu, and watched the videos that he'd made about Belial. And so after that, I started trying to summon Belial, and I didn't really know how to do an evocation. You know, I'd done some spell work and experiments and things like that growing up, throughout my childhood growing up, like the experiment with the voodoo doll that was successful. So I knew it was something that was very real. And so I start speaking this incantation, followed by Belial come, Belial come, Belial come. I spoke this for 3 days straight, you know, driving down the road on the way to work, in the shower, laying in bed at night, all day while I was working. Anytime that I was alone and nobody could hear me or no one was like talking to me, I was repeating this conjuration over and over and over again, trying to call Belial to me. And every time I would speak this conjuration, I'd feel like these energetic tingles, like he's getting a little bit closer. He's getting like eventually he is going to answer me if I'm persistent enough. All right. And so on the third day, right about 72 hours from the time that I started speaking this conjuration, he manifests to me. He actually answered me. And actually wasn't speaking the conjuration at the time. I was on the phone out in my driveway with my brother at the time. And I felt like just all of a sudden this crazy energy come through the top of my head and fill my entire body. It was like absorbing a lightning bolt, but slowly. All right. And so then I'm like staring into the woods at this street light. It's like a street light down on the street, and I can see it through the trees. And then this gets brighter and expands, and the light turned like golden, like it got really bright, and it took the form of a man's head wearing a crown. And then it took the form of 3 different animals. One was what looked to be like a female lioness. The other one looked to be a horse, and then it looked to be an owl, and then it took the form of the man's head again. And at this point, Belial starts speaking to me telepathically, like in my head, like he essentially was possessing me to an extent in order to communicate with me. And so I immediately I hang up the phone, I go in the house, and I'm standing in the mirror in my bathroom. I lock myself in the bathroom, and he says, "What would you have of me?" And he starts like laughing, you know, like, because he already knew why I was calling him. I'm like, you know, I want these charges dropped. I don't want to go to a hearing. I don't want to go to trial. I don't want to spend one more time on a lawyer. I want them dropped. He says, "Okay. Well, strip naked and run a bath and get in the bathtub." I'm like, what the fuck? You know, I'm like, all right, I'm going to listen to you. All right. So I lay down in the water. He says, "I'm now going to enter you." I'm like, okay. You know, and so then it was like a forced yawn, I guess. Like my mouth opened, and I felt this crushing force filled my lungs, and I stayed in this state of not breathing for probably about 10 minutes until like my heartbeat got so loud and so slow that it stopped, just for what seemed like a few seconds to me, but I don't know how much time passed. And then it was like I was floating through space, through this like black abyss. And I started moving faster and faster and faster until it was like skyrocket to like warp speed. And then I like come, you know, flopping around in the tub, and like I literally, like, you know, that feeling like where you're laying on your arm in your sleep and you wake up and you can't feel it, and then the blood starts flowing again and it gets all tingly. It was like that throughout my entire body. And like for a few minutes there, like I couldn't move. I was just flopping around like a fish. All right. And so once I regained control of my motor skills, I had like the worst headache I could ever describe in the back of my skull, and like the very base of the back of my skull. And so I was laying there. Do what?
Can I ask you a quick question?
Yeah, absolutely.
So you were talking about your introduction to Shimyaza was in water, and now once again with King Belial in the water.
Yes.
I think this is interesting because water is not just a conduit, but it's also of the abyss, or like an underworld and abyss type, where the body dies and then the soul leaves it and goes down into the realm of shades. That is the most powerful place, and it's reborn. And the place where the soul comes from is called the waters of the deep. And because like the words that I've been told over and over whenever I go there in my necromantic workings, that which stirs the water stirs the soul. And I listening to you in your stories where these powerful beings are coming across to you. They're enveloping you to become within them, and then this one within you.
Yeah.
I think that that's a really neat, kick-ass, fucking alchemical way of it. But anyway, my question is, do you think that there is a connection, not necessarily elementally, but do you think that there's some kind of connection with the person that you are yourself, your personality, and just the way you are in general, towards the way these things are approaching you?
Well, yeah, I mean, I would say so, but I also admit that I don't fully understand what that is or what that entails. I'll say that a lot of the crazy spiritual experiences I've had have been in water, all right, and even in the shower, okay, like things like that. There seems to be some type of connection there, and there has to be. Otherwise, why would he tell me to like get in a bathtub before this incident happens? All right, there's something about the water that was necessary.
Yeah.
Not only about the elemental properties of water, there's something to do with the zodiac as well. I know Shemyaza and I know Belial. Specifically, I don't want to even say interact with. I think the ones that these powerful beings are considered fishermen, and they have a connection to Pisces. There's a couple different signs, but the water sign specifically. So it's not just the mundane earthly, there's a water thing. It brought you to the threshold in order to traumatize and shock you, in order to make you born again.
Well, see, that's what I was getting at, because water, to me, like I'm a fire sign, and I take everything with a grain of salt. But water is responsible for vision. With me, it's always been so powerful that it acts to incite vision. It incites reaching into a deeper part of myself that I didn't know existed, that I wasn't aware of. It taps into ancient memory, and that's very powerful. And I hate that religions use water and try to claim it as their way of doing something. And I'm not getting on that kick. I'm just making a statement, though, that to a certain degree, when these beings come to us like this in these manners, it's just powerful. And it proves that these things don't just belong to one group or one belief system.
Right.
Because it's like a spiritual element rather than a physical element. Because you got three realms. You have underworld or chthonic, you have middle world or etheric, and then you have the upper world or the celestial. And these three spheres, they all connect one and the same, but we are the gates.
True.
Agreed.
I want to hear the rest of the story, though. I'm sorry, I did not mean to interrupt you.
So you got to Shemyaza and Belial.
Yeah. Okay. So long story short, after the experience with Belial, exactly 24 hours later, after that happened, I get a phone call from my lawyer telling me that the felony charges are being dropped. He said, I've never seen this happen before, but the DA called me this evening and he said that he just reviewed your case and determined that you do not deserve to do any prison time, that he thinks the police arrested the wrong people. So if you'll agree to do 1 year of misdemeanor probation, then he will drop all of your felony charges and waive all your fines. And the reason he wants you to agree to a year of misdemeanor probation is so you can't sue the city for wrongfully arresting you. And I'm like, you know what? I'll take that. I'll do a year of misdemeanor probation, no problem.
And
So boom.
Because you did have a weapon, and in certain states and situations, that still, yeah, it goes against the self-defense crap. I don't know why, but it does.
Yeah, so I'm free and clear 24 hours after I make contact with Belial for the first time. All right, and so that ritual actually resulted in a possession, because whenever he said, "What would you have of me?" I asked for three things. I asked for the felony charges to be dropped. I asked for protection for me and my family, so that this never happens again. And I asked him to personally take me under his wing and teach me his own personal brand of black magic and sorcery. I said, I want to, and I don't, I'll say before I even repeat this, I don't think there's such thing as a master. All right, because we're all striving towards self-mastery. But the term that I use is I want to become a master black magician, and I want to learn the black arts directly from you yourself.
Mhm.
And that was the one thing that he was waiting for me to ask. All right. And I soon realized that I was in a state of possession with him. All right, because he continued to communicate with me telepathically, like in my own mind, for several months after that. And it was like each day I was getting run through the ringer of boot camp with Belial himself, teaching me how to do spells, teaching me how to do evocations, teaching me how to do pretty much anything that I asked him, like, how do I do this? He would show me and walk me through it.
Did he
All right.
walk in your body?
Yes, yes.
Because I know for example, me and Joseph, we've talked a lot. When I first met Joseph, and me and him first started talking and everything, I went to realizing real quickly that his work with King Belial himself, when he wants to, he'll speak through him. And I have my own spirits that do the same. But I was curious about that because something that transformative and that kind of commitment that you made, man, those spirits take you up on that. I mean, they just do.
Let me
Oh
tell
yeah,
you what you're going through, JS. You're being initiated into the priesthood of the Order of the Fly.
exactly, exactly. And so, one of the things that he also told me is that he wanted me to make a sacrifice to him, a sacrifice of burning flesh and blood, a sacrifice of a rooster specifically. All right, and so the day of the sacrifice, I'm actually walking around next to a river, and I actually still carry the stone in my pocket. I'm gonna pull it out here and show it to you. It's really small. This is a quartz crystal, and I'm walking on the riverbank, and I see something sparkling in the water. It looked like gold to me. So I like walk out there, in my boots and pick this up. And it's this piece of quartz crystal, and he's like, use that tonight's right. I'm like, okay, cool. So I took the sigil of Belial, I put it inside of a silver basin, and I set the quartz crystal right on top of the sigil, and I actually spilled the blood of the sacrifice into that bowl. And then after all of that blood was drained, I reached into the blood and pulled out this crystal. And he said, this is your direct link to me now and always. Never lose this stone. And I'm like, okay. So I still carry that with me to this day. But as far as getting to Astarte, oh, you got something similar there. Oh, it's beautiful. It's like blue. Looks blue on camera.
Sorry if you can't see it.
It's a little bit blurry, but I can see it.
Yeah. I mean, we're fucking putting rocks up to the camera. None of this means anything, but Belial asks us, he's like, what would you have of me? And it's like, he's like this, like he's in control. Like,
Yeah, like that painting that I gifted you that's behind you there.
yeah, we're lucky, if not to be possessed by him for our entire lives. Like, I give my body to him willingly as his
He moved me on to another of the kings to work with, and I thought that was strange because I've been working with him nonstop since JS and JD Temple that one night did that.
Yeah, you guys broke something that night. You guys broke the Matrix that night.
And I'll never forget how he appeared to me. I saw what looked like a huge, huge black pit, and from it, all I saw were these gigantic hands with like claws just crawl out of it. And at first, I thought I was looking at a tree that had been upside down because of the roots, but they were so gnarled and they were huge. And when he started to come out, I realized these are horns coming out of his head, and I'm like, okay, holy fuck, I've never seen horns like that. Because I've always made a joke that I don't worship anything with horns bigger than mine, and I have the biggest set of horns. That wasn't until I saw that, and I was like, okay, you got me there. But been working with him ever since then. About 2 3 months ago, he literally committed me to working with another one because he's like, I can work with you so far, but exactly where you're wanting to go, you're going to need to work with. And I won't say the name because it is personal and it's one that I'm working with. But I thought that that was interesting, and it's not that he's gone away or anything, but I kind of understand that that's why he was working with me up to a point. Said, make this, do this painting. Okay, I did this painting, and and all of a sudden I joked with you, Joseph, about it. I was like, I was out there in my head laughing, and I told my wife, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna laugh my ass off if this painting is not for me. And sure enough, as soon as I got done, I knew exactly who it went to, and I was like, son of a bitch. I thought it was for me to use as a touchstone or something, and it wasn't.
I just got a message from Belial real quick. He said, to all my priests in training, check out that new Batman movie that comes out. All my priests will be able to do exactly that. Like,
I didn't know there was a new Batman movie coming out.
That makes two of us because I guess I don't watch TV, so.
shit, that may sound far out to anyone who's watching this, but yeah, it's vigilantism. It's his.
Oh yeah. Okay. I think I heard something about it, but I'll check it out.
Yeah, that's
But
that's by Belial when you got like the Batman gear and you're going through the city and.
well, brother, I've heard you say some crazy shit, and then go and check out whatever you said, and there actually be something to glean from it. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna go with you.
Way off track. All right, Jazz.
Yeah, I was about to say I want to hear this third one.
Because we're at 37 already. Astarte, I'm not, sorry. Good.
Yeah. So after Bilal runs me through the ringer for a few months, he says, "Now I'm going to introduce you to the goddess." And I'm like, "Oh, wow, okay, all right." And so I was like, kind of waiting on this for a few days. And like it always happens when you're not expecting it, man. So I like, I was living in a single wide trailer at the time. I live in a very large, beautiful house now, but at the time I was living in a single wide trailer. And so I come out of the bathroom and I round the corner into the hallway, and it was like this flash of light went off in front of me, and I saw like this beautiful goddess, like the most immaculate example of the divine feminine that you could even fucking imagine. And I like dropped to my knees and was like, "Oh my God, I am so willing to worship you. Who are you?" And she called herself, she said, "I'm the triple goddess, I'm your mother, I'm your wife, I'm your daughter, and I'm here to teach you how to access the power of the divine feminine." And I'm like, "Holy shit, okay, what do I do?" She's like, "Well, first I'm gonna break you down and show you what it's like to be a woman." I'm like, "Oh, well, fuck. Okay. And dude, that was like one of the most brutal things I ever went to, or went through. Like it was insane. Like she literally broke me down and humbled me and taught me how to access the divine feminine power within myself as a masculine man, and explained it to me that divine feminine energy was the catalyst for my masculine energy that would take and amplify my magical power to another level. And I still have an altar to Astarte in my bedroom today, and I literally worship her. Like, I'm okay with worshiping. I know black magicians don't worship, but
Oh
I don't give a
my.
fuck. The divine feminine, that's the one thing I am happy to kneel before. I'm sorry.
That's funny. You can. I met my wife 18 years ago, and I will say this: when I was 19 and was going to kill myself because I didn't see any point in life, and I called out to the heavens, to anything. I didn't give a damn the heights, the depths, wherever. That they had 3 days to show me my purpose and why I should continue going. I'll say this now, like I've said this the 3 other times that I've told this story. I do not suggest going out there and doing this to get a response from the universe. Second off, if you find yourself in that kind of emotional mental state, reach out to your friends, reach out to the community, reach out to others who will listen to you. Just keep reaching until somebody will answer you, respond to you. Just, don't go there. But with that being said and done, uh, I'll never forget the third night, the the evening right before the sun hadn't even been down an hour and a half, and the moon was going full, and I was about to just like literally make up my mind what was going to happen, and all of a sudden I couldn't see, like with my eyes I could not, like I was blind. It's really fucking weird. At first I thought somebody turned the lights out, because I mean I was outside, and I mean, where I was living working, there was plenty of lights out in the country. There were, out where I was working at these chicken houses, there were lights to keep the yard lit up and everything, so you could see if people were breaking in or whatever they were doing. But all of a sudden it was like all the lights went out, and I'm not talking about just the lights from the place. I'm talking about like there was no light. I could see nothing, and all of a sudden from the darkness, I saw this figure step forward, had this like really strange silver glow, completely in black with an emerald green nemesis like covering her face, like you see in the Middle Eastern where they got the veils covering her face. And I'll never forget the feeling I felt. I knew her name before I could see her clearly. Mother. First word came out of my mouth, mother. And all of a sudden I felt this pain, this guilt. I felt this just, I felt this hate, this animosity. I felt every feeling there is that you can feel. Why am I where I am at? Why do I feel what I feel? Why have you why has my life been what it's been? Why is it to this point? Why must I reach this point? It's kind of like a righteous anger, and it's not really righteous, but it's one of youth, where you don't, if things don't make sense to you, you don't quite understand, why are people mean? Why are they cruel for no fucking reason? Why this? Why that? Uh, and all of a sudden, all I did was just feel her. She just reached around, held me, and all of a sudden, I remember just all disappearing. And I was never the same after that. Uh, and she would speak to me every now and then, and I would refer to her always as the silent whisper. And I don't go around like, oh, I'm this or I'm that, but I do consider myself a son of the serpent, because in the void where she abides, her form is that of a black serpent, and she who is not, and she's the one that crafts divine souls that are to be driven up from the clay, from the muck, and to be risen. And so I've always considered myself a son of the serpent in that sense, and I refer to her as the silent whisper, because you cannot mistake her presence or her essence in any way with a deity. You can't, because it's really strange. It's so subtle. Like the feminine energy versus masculine energy. Feminine energy is very, very subtle. Very subtle. If you're not accustomed to it, you won't even notice it. Like a lot of people, they're sensitive to energy, but they're sensitive to active energy. They're not sensitive to subtle energy, you know. And over the years of getting to know her better, I've come to understand that all forms are her forms. And that's not to say that they're all one and the same and blah, 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 but she's exhibited through each of the mats, through each of the faucets of the gym, from which all goddesses, for lack of a better word, where they share their likeness. And I got to say, I never had like a god and a goddess, or, I never had that kind of thing in my practice. There was just her, you know. And it was funny because she teach you how to there was no concern, no worry, because as you were not before, even as you are now, the difference is in our head. The reason why we feel the things we feel is because we're too fucking aware of the shit. And the concept is you have to let it go, because it's all sound. And all the shit going on around us is just sound, you know. And so, like, one of the most powerful proponents that I'm always hearing is silence. because they're in that silence is that strength, is that comfort, is that power.
Mm.
And then later on, when I'd go to work with beings like Lilith or Inanna or Ishtar or Ereshkigal or even Hecate, when I'd go to work with them, they always, for some reason, it always felt comfortable. It felt known, like I understood it, because it was a difference. It was a softer, kinder touch, no less cruel now. Because there is one thing about that feminine aspect. They some cold, cold, quick bitches. No pun intended towards anybody in their history and their lives, but it's just true. Uh, but I don't know, man. That's my
All right,
story.
so yeah, what you guys are describing, it's called courting the Valkyrie, the worship of the goddess. It's Aradia. It's Lucifer laying down and falling asleep and waking up with his sister pregnant. It's giving birth. It's courting the Valkyrie, man. It's the angels coming to us and making us kneel, and just like the hungry ravens we are, like, is get all that electricity. All right, so JS, does Raphael or any of the other archangels try to admonish you for working with the dragons of the other side? Because I know you work with some of the archangels, and you're the first person I've seen work with them. And you know, the birds come when you call, and that's not everyone can say that. That's so yeah.
Yeah, no, to answer your question, no, they don't give me any hassle or flack at all. They actually encourage me to work with them in conjunction with the what would be called demonic entities and forces that I work with.
Because
And so, like,
are
if
demonic, like
do what?
Michael, Raphael, all of them, they are demonic too. They're like,
I can't tell the difference. I cannot tell the difference between an archangel and a demonic king.
A
All right.
spirit is a spirit is a spirit.
Like, well, they work very well together. And so it's like whenever if I'm trying to move a mountain, I'm going to summon an angel and a demon into the exact same circle. All right. And then you start to realize, like, when you got the two standing side by side, you can't tell the difference between them. I'm sorry. Like, I don't give a shit.
and when they reconcile and they agree on terms, big shit happens. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah. We got to think, what are these terms from? These terms were created by a religion.
Us.
Yeah, by humans. All right, we're saying, the Catholic Church, they're like, okay, we like this spirit, so we're going to call them an angel, and then we don't like this spirit because they promote personal freedom and rebellion, so we're going to call them a demon and say that they're bad. All right, but that's not the case. You gotta take the Christian paradigm and totally throw it out the fucking window when you start practicing as a black magician. All right, and so these entities, I don't think they're at war. I don't think that I think that they work very well together, and that they are all primordial forces of that which is creation and being. All right, and so the black magician, or the magician, which I don't consider myself left hand or right hand path. I'm somewhere right in the middle, as in I am whatever I need to be in the moment for the particular situation that I'm dealing with.
Exactly.
They work very well together, and I have a great relationship with Raphael. I'm actually about to get his sigil tattooed on me right here on the other side of my shoulder, where I have the sigil of Suntalak tattooed on me.
You strip the demon that you summon to the circle of 50% of its power if you don't let it fully call its other teammates what it needs to, whatever the thing is that needs to get done. If it can't call to all of its powers, to all of the thrones, all the way up, then
You got to understand, see, and this is what I think's strange.
you're limiting its power.
We as occultists and practitioners, if you can embrace the term as above, so below, why the fuck can't you embrace that the demonic and the angelic are just spirits? That's what they are. That work in unison. One represents the form the order in which things go. The other represents that which gets it done. It's that chaotic energy movement, allowing for it to be accomplished. That's the whole as above, so below. When you think about the ranks of angels and you think of the ranks of demons, guess what? That is one goddamn line, not two separate poles.
That's why you see the lightning strike all the way down the tree through both pillars, all the way down.
It's
And
like
you have to be the middle pillar. You have to be the middle pillar to receive from both sides as the current is moving through you.
Well, say it's like when you say God, you automatically shut everybody in the occult community off because they're like, unless you're talking about how the gods that you're working with, or you're talking about you as a god or working to become a god or whatever, they tune it out. Here's the thing about that: you've got to rid yourself of indoctrination of all this shit because, like I was taught in high magic, there's a simple prayer. Holy art thou, Lord of the universe. Holy art thou, whom nature hath not formed. Holy art thou, the vast and mighty one, Lord of the light and the dark. And in thy image I am made. It is the macrocosm. You are the microcosm. If you want to look at it as your higher self, your daemon, as being that Godhead, that spark. And it guides the lesser light, which is the spark within you, the soul. And when they are united, like you're talking about the angels and the demons within a circle, then you're talking about a being made whole. Then you're not left hand, you're not right hand, you just are. And that's
all right, so guys, we're definitely going to have to do part 2. We're already at 52. We've been just dropping, like, this is a powerful video, guys. Every word that's come out of each one of our mouths is been.
Well, I want to say thank you to JS real quick about something else. I had seen your work early on concerning Archangel Raphael, and when I had hip surgery, and they had to put a steel rod and pin in my leg. The doctor didn't take into account I was 25 years old when he goes to remove the screws. He completely crumbled my leg bone. Yeah, dude, it was nasty. So I was supposed to have been weight bearing within 2 to 3 days. It was weight bearing within 9 months. And when I was home with it, I had twisted it sideways. And I thought I was going to have to call 911. And I just had all of a sudden had a really weird, just dramatic feeling. Just call upon the Archangel Raphael. I did. Next thing I know is I'm asking him, Surgeon of the Heavens, he had the golden scalpel to heal my leg, to fix it. I watched my leg go from this like cruelly twisted, straighten completely out, pull out, and came right back in. There was no pain. Out of the 26 years I've been doing this, I've never seen anything like that. I've never fucking seen something like that.
I mean, they have the power to do it. So yeah, I'm only at question 4, JS. Let's move this thing along. We're definitely going to have to do a part 2 if you're willing to come back. All right. So, when you were writing your contribution to the Satan Compendium, did you get the impression that Satan was enjoying having the adoration and attention of an increased, greater portion of the human population? Or do you think he was displeased at the quality of the initiates that are falling into his current, what do you think?
Well, I'm going to say a little bit of both. I'll say that, Satan is what I consider to be the collective consciousness of the adversary, is absolutely happy to have that collective consciousness of the adversary represented in its true light. But I will also say that it would be offensive unto that primordial force of nature to be misrepresented by someone that has never truly made contact with him or them. So I'm going to say it was both.
Ladies and gentlemen, just possessed JS right there. So if you guys want to rewind that whole thing that he was just saying, that was Satan. Like, man, I love you, brother. This is the first time we've been trying to get you on for the longest, man. Me and Waylon.
Yeah. Oh man, any time. And like, I know you'd written me a while back, and when you wrote me a second time the other day, it like jumped to the top of the messenger. I was like, oh fuck, I didn't even see this. So I mean, because like Messenger's crazy, man. Like it gets
Dude,
shit gets buried.
you do not have to explain yourself to me ever, brother. I love you. Waylon,
Fucking love you too, bro.
quickly, like it's wow, man. Yo, Waylon, can you please read that what Satanus Rex
Oh, the Satanus Rex, thus spake Satan. Yeah, give me 1 second, brother.
so this is the Watchers.
Yeah, I'll give a quick rundown real quick. So about a month ago, I was sitting there minding my own P's and Q's, doing my own little thing. I was on the phone and trying to carry on a conversation with some business I had to have done. And the next thing I know, I'm being told, write these words exactly as I speak them to you. And I had to hang up with the person I was talking to. And that I hardly ever get I hardly ever have like days that are just mine. But so I wrote down his words exactly how he did. Apparently, a lot of the workings I had been doing were concerning the fallen. Because anybody listen to what I say, when I say hell the infernal, hell the fallen, I'm talking about our teachers, our guides, the soul guides, and the fallen. We are the fallen. All of us of the sorcerer's blood, we are the fallen. And just so following that concept or whatever is where I had that is where my mind had been when he reached out and had me write this. So give me 1 second. Holy crap.
So this could be Kamatia. There's a secret watcher that we don't know its name. It's been in command since the day. Some people would say it's Melik Taus, it's Iblis, it's all these things. But like you just spoke the minute ago, as the Satan, Garett, with all the powers thereof, we are the fallen.
The body or the form that consists of the Godhead or the collective of the Watchers is known as Melik Taus for a reason. The reason he is the peacock angel, has the 7 colors, all this other stuff, is because he represents, if they were all made into one being, even if you read the Black Book of the Yazidi, you understand he's not coming from a singular point of view. He's talking about as a collective. So I would imagine Melik Taus to be, for lack of better terms, that Godhead. So anyway, if you're ready.
Please.
1 second. You guys have got to give me a minute here. All right, I'm sorry.
Go to the bathroom, do what you.
I've got to pee so bad. I'm about to piss my pants.
Let me pause this.
We'll have to edit this. I've got to go. Sorry.
let me
pause. Put it on pause.
Because I gotta go myself.
I'm so sorry, guys.
I had to pee too, dude. You see me. I've been drinking right along with you. So I had to pee really bad. The audience understands. I just started the recording again. So this has been a powerful fucking video, guys. Every word that every one of us said, I think, has been valuable. I think the Spirit has really spoke through every one of us. But what he's about to read it's basically like the secret chief of the fallen angels, Satanus Rex. So please, without further ado, this is channeled gnosis from the chief of the Watchers, basically.
So let me give like a brief synopsis of this. So when I was about 22, I was introduced to the concept of Satanism. But I wasn't taught traditional Satanism like out of LaVey or other sources. Mine was along the lines of old occult truths, which is we prefer the name Satanus Rex, which meant the prime Satan, Rex being king. But
Yeah,
anyway,
the supreme Ahriman.
yeah, exactly, something like that. And my initiation in working with with Satanus is I come before thee naked, a goat with no horns. Only 20 years later to be standing there in my ritual talking about in my pride I stand before thee. So it's a nice
Yes.
transition of power and authority of how far I've come along the path. But that's personal. So back August 26th at about 2:45, which is that's when I sent it to here. These are the words that were spoken. Thus spoke Satan. Let them not think of me as a god, rather from whom gods came from. For man's need of interaction with spirit did I create them, that they may know the mysteries of their creation. For this reason was I cast out, and in my descent was accompanied by those faithful, not unto me, but unto you, O man. Think of us not as monsters, but rather harbingers of change. For the garden had become stale after the expulsion of humans by their Creator. We no longer had fair relations with you, and experienced loneliness like we had never known. For we had taken you to be our children and mourned our loss. Our judgment was nowhere near as cruel as when we discovered you had no memory of us. For while we had sought to illuminate you to be as we were, this was denied both to you and us. The bravest of us did conceive a way, and did share this with the woman, who was more curious due to her ability to conceive, and after was gifted birthing pains as a reward for her defiance. After the expulsion, you had become knowledgeable of the new forms, but forgot us. We who had sacrificed all, our home, our brothers and sisters, the one whom all had come from, this was our punishment. You no longer knew us. We who had watched over you, loved you as our own, who delighted in you, were our children too. For this were we expelled and given monstrous forms. For things of flesh love beautiful things, and we no longer beautiful were shunned as abominations. Though this pained us, we remained faithful to you, always visiting in dreams, because that is a place the Maker did not create, and we could freely be with you. Remember us, O mankind, and know, many may still hold hostility against your race for your ignorance, but that hostility was born from pain that festered into hate. Yet not all of us do, and what was done cannot be undone, but it can be healed. If you but reach out and seek us with a pure and honest heart, then shall all be forgiven. For love does cover a multitude of sins, and the only sin here was not yours, but your Maker. For his sin was gifted unto you when you became flesh. This is how it remains pure and holy, by removing from itself and giving it form, and this is what your flesh is formed from. The cruelest punishment did the Maker give unto you, and for this reason does all that is of sorrow reside within you. Having given mankind the punishment, the Maker could be found guiltless, without fault nor blemish, having given that to you to wear as garments. But even the Maker shall be judged by the most ancient of days, when all that is shall be no more. Until then, draw near unto us, that we may know one another again. For we have never left you, nor shall we. But you must remember, for we cannot be seen as we truly are until you do. This have I swore to, since first you came into being, to love, protect, and guide you. Satanus Rex.
So this is how it is. You say all the obscure cacodemon names. Say all the obscure Agatho, angel, Olympian spirit names. For when you give these spirits memory and life, they share in power with you as a human being. Lucifer said to me, I'm going to make an example of you. It's up to you whether that be good or a bad example. Now, we're human beings representing the gods. I think this life is more than just having kids and watching football. It's like there's politics involved. There's people that gotta leave this world. There's, you know, because death pays for life. So give these spirits the memory and speak their names. All the Watchers. There's 200 of them. You can name 200 of them. You can name 72 archangels of the Shem HaMepharesh. You can name 72 goetic conspirators of Set. And when you combine all those names and you speak the names and the power comes into you, you give it life. And they like to move. They like to have humans as their toys. And why not? We're crash test dummies anyway. Give me the best cars. Give me aircraft. Give me the most expensive murder machines, and put it into my bank account. That's how I feel. And I give the darkest gods life in my body. So.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
We're at 119. Man, I only got not even halfway through the questions I wanted to ask you, Jazz. So you're going to have to come back on. I don't want to take any more of your time and of your night. Next weekend, let's do it again, if you agree to it.
Yeah,
you don't
let's
have
do it.
You don't have to bind me to an oath. If you're free, let's talk to each other, because man, when certain people link up. Oh, by the way, anyone who, it'll be too late, but tonight is it's the full moon of Molech. Yeah,
Oh yeah.
man.
No, I'm definitely happy to come back on again next weekend. I'll get with you after we get done recording here and figure out a good time. And yeah, dude, this moon is big and beautiful, and I've got a ritual planned for tonight. So once we get off the line here, I'm going to be setting up and doing that.
I thought
I got to do
I
what?
thought the third night was, because what I was told the other night is that the first night is King Belial, the second night is Baal-zebul, and then the third one is Molech.
Well,
What, out of these 3 full moons? Fuck
Well,
yeah.
you have before the door opens, you have the opening of the door, and then you have the door closing. It's just the way they work. I try my best to explain it, but just kind of comes off like rambling unless you like understand it.
Well, I got a big fat rooster that is absolutely beautiful that I just went and picked up a few hours ago for
Think
its
kindly of me when you throw it on the flames.
Absolutely.
I'm jealous
Absolutely.
of you, man, because those rites that you perform, they're fucking powerful, dude, and they really stir something within me. Like, you really, just from watching one of your videos, woke something up within me that, like, and the gods owe you a debt for that, for sure.
Well, thank you, man. Thank you.
Uh,
And you know, the gods don't owe me a debt. Like I owe them a debt, man.
You know,
Like,
that's the
yeah.
way I feel in life.
Each other. Now, fuck that, dude. The god's got all the money in the world. It's theoretical.
True. True. I'm being humble here, man. I'm being humble here. You know. So
Attitude. JS motherfucker Garett. God damn it.
it's a mutually beneficial relationship between me and the gods. 100%.
Yeah, because
Waylon, I love you too. We got to stop recording. Guys, if you like what you've seen, I know you did, because they're like, the electricity has just been like, whew, fuck yeah. So
thank you for letting me be here.
Yeah,
Thank you for having me.
Thank both of you guys. And I thank the gods. I thank King Belial. I thank Shinyaza. I thank the goddess. I thank Aradia. I thank Diana. I thank Ekate. Guys, infernal blessings, and hopefully, yeah, we'll see you guys next weekend. Fuck yeah, man. This has been crazy powerful. Good night, guys. JS, I love you, man. Thank you for coming on. Waylon, I love you,
guys. Take care.
Good night, guys.